Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Charlie Fibrosis, and today we're going to be doing over a tier ranking list that I did. So, a guy on NASCAR Sh posting created this original tier list, and this is my results, and I'm going to go through them with you. Um, but there is a minor thing here that I want to mention. Technically, in the games I have not played, there are a few that I actually have played, but I don't own them. I played them off of emulators, and even then, I've probably only played maybe a few, maybe about an hour of them. And based off of a lot of the games, a lot of the newer games that came after that, I just have more interest and more fun with some of the games that I did play growing up, or I have a higher nostalgia. So I want to be fair. A few of the games that are listed in the have not played section, I just have not played, or a few I have emulated and I don't really have a big opinion of them. So let's go through this tier list and I'll explain my choices. So let's start from best of all time. Excuse me. Best of all time, I gave it to NASCAR Racing 2003 season. There's a very simple answer to that. I think NASCAR Racing 2003 season, at the time at least, it was probably the best simulator that was made for the NASCAR genre. But more than anything, I see it as, especially with the whole aspect of mod support in the now 16, 17 years that this game has been around, I consider it more of an encyclopedia, so to speak. The massive amount of mods that are out there, the massive amount of car sets. And honestly, at this point, I probably don't have the equivalent amount of hours that I do on NASCAR Thunder 2003, but all the same, I have a lot of hours clocked into NR, and yeah, and I know that some of you guys will think that I'm crazy and everything, but I will say this. I do actually have a physical copy of NR. I was one of the stupid people who bought it in the secondary market and paid a pretty penny for it. But there is an element that I actually like having the complete set. So it's the box, it comes with the manual, it comes with the game, it comes with the CD key, it comes with everything you need. And in certain instances, I just like to start up the game or at least get it installed on whatever computer I'm going to use using the actual version. I have yet to play the game with a burned backup copy, though I may need to do that ahead sometime soon. All right, so next up, in second place, and only slightly, is NASCAR Thunder 2003. I've clocked in terms of a console game, I've clocked in so many hours with this game. I think, honestly, I'm a little biased, obviously. It's got my favorite driver on there, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. The graphics, honestly, are still pretty good to this day. I would say maybe graphically, Thunder 04 kind of beats it out a little bit more. And let it be noted, every single NASCAR game that I owned in the EA Sports library from 2003 through 2009, when I initially got them, all of them were on the PS2, not the PS1 version. So NASCAR Thunder 2003 holds a lot of nostalgic value to me. It's still by and large one of my favorite games that I have ever played on the console. And I just love it. Now, here's the reason why NASCAR Thunder 2004, its successor, is ranked pretty good, but highest in pretty good. Simply put, I think the NASCAR Thunder 04 really brought a lot to the table. I feel like I lost a little bit of something in regards to them having a secondary crew that did the MON radio calls. I liked it when it was exclusively Joe Moore and Barney Hall. In fairness, I don't think that I got my physical copy of Thunder 04 until about maybe 2009, 2010 or so. But it was like one of the few games that I was missing out of the original PS2 lineup. My only real issue with Thunder 04 is honestly the ally rivalry system. Now, I know that they kind of fixed that in Thunder in Chase of the Cup 05, but all the same, it's just a little bit too sensitive for my liking. If you're drafting with someone at, say, Talladega, and you give them the bump draft, well, they're not going to take that as a friendly gesture. They're going to take that as a rivalry gesture. Honestly, in terms of it all, the soundtrack, the physics, the game, everything about Thunder 04 makes it the best Thunder game of them all. It's the rivalry ally system that just gets under my skin, and that's why I don't like it as much. But I still rank it the highest and pretty good. Alright, following up with that is NASCAR Dirt Daytona. Let me say this. I really, really like this game. I think that it definitely brings something interesting to the table. The graphics are a little funky with it nowadays. Kind of looking at comparison to what EA Sports had, but what I do give Dirt to Daytona credit for is, in terms of all the things that could go wrong with your car, the fact that there were multiple series in there, the fact that a decent chunk, especially in the trucks, at the very least, they were real drivers. You know, they were real drivers in the truck series, which I really, really liked. I do kind of find it weird, or maybe it would just be a little bit too much if they added the Busch series in there. That does kind of drop it just a tiny bit. But in terms of it all, I really, really love the game. I will say that it's probably a game that I have not put the most amount of hours in, but I put a decent chunk in it, and I think that just based off of the fact that you could have your power steering go out, that you could have just various mechanical issues throughout a race, and it would just randomly happen too. And I mean that randomly in a good way. Something just goes, and you have to figure out how you're going to deal with it. I thought it was the coolest system ever, and I find it really disappointing that a lot of games, even like NR and stuff like that you don't get random mechanical failures. In NR, I mean, you can randomly blow your engine. You could kind of do that technically with any of the NASCAR games, now that I think about it, maybe except for the newer Heat games. But yeah, you would just have random parts break on you, and it would either take you out of contention, or you'd have to find a way to deal with it. Tracks were fun, all in all. Just a good game. Just a really, really good game. Alright, so let's talk about NASCAR 06 Total Team Control. First off, I actually got this as a birthday present shortly after it came out. So I thought that it was actually a pretty good game. Honestly, I know that maybe the whole entire system of Total Team Control, I mean, granted, it did make the game arcadey, but I liked it. I really, really did. My feeling was that, honestly, when it came to the whole aspect of just driving your own car the entire race, and if something happened to it, that's the end of it, and you could invest a lot of time into that. In many cases, I felt that, with the Total Team Control, you could extend that. If you're running, the Daytona 500, and your primary car craps the bed at like 175 at 200 laps, in any other game, that's it. It's over. The end. But the fact that you could switch it over to another car, maybe, you'll obviously not get the win, but you as the player can go and then try and get the win for the other driver. That's actually pretty cool. I think that it's a good use of time in many cases. Now, I will say as well, sometimes the functions didn't work really as intended. Um, Cases like work with me, let's draft together. Sometimes the AI would not really respond to that well, or it really wouldn't do much, or anything else like that. But what oftentimes I would do, I can remember a certain case where I think I was running the Busch Series race at Talladega with in the game it was Chance 2 Motorsports. But I'm running with Dale Jr. and Martin Truex Jr. And I just keep switching back and forth between the two of them. And I feel like Paul Menard was in there, but I can't remember. The point is, I'm swapping between the two, and I'm running the whole entire event. And I think I managed to get Truex into like second or fifth place. Junior somehow dropped to the back and was sitting about 20th or so. And I went ahead and I switched over and then drove him up through the field. And all the while I threw it on Truex to block up the field so he could retain his position. And that way, when I was there and ready to get to him, then I'll just swap back to Truex. And then I'll, hop on his Truex. I'll start pushing the 81 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., and that way was still continuing 1-2. And eventually what happened is I think that Truex's engine blew up as he was leading, probably with about 20 laps to go. And while it sucked, it definitely sucked that, now I'm having to figure this out all on my own. It saved me a lot of time. My time felt like it was still valuable, and it was used well for what I was looking to go after. So I really, really like that. It's a system that, too, I think was appropriate for the time. Back then, they still had the 5-car operations. Let me think here. In total team control, if you were racing with Hendrick Motorsports, you had Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Terry Labonte, and Brian Vickers. You had 5 cars that you could pick from with the analog stick. And in many ways, I don't know if it would necessarily work in today's 2020 NASCAR rules and everything like that. I don't really know if teammates are like as essential as they were probably back then. I know that they are, at least from a technical level. I just don't know if it would be applied within games. But yeah, I really, really loved 06 team control, and I thought that it worked out really well. There are some little limitations, but it is what it is. Alright, next up, NASCAR Heat 4, the newest and, as it kind of seems, last NASCAR Heat game that Monster Games or 704 Games is making. So, these are kind of interchangeable between Heat 3 and Heat 4. I think Heat 4 has a better driving system. I think that the way that the cars handle is much better than Heat 3. Heat 4 does kind of adopt similar to Daytona and 06 Total Team Control, and technically 05 was when NASCAR Chase for the Cup started all of this, but just the multiple series. Now, granted, I play it on the PC. Most of the new games that come out, I get them on PC. I don't really have many consoles per se to really play the new stuff, and not all of them support my wheel. I just really am at a point where I just like using a racing wheel over using a controller. So, NASCAR Heat 4, pretty good. I haven't put in much time into it, but it definitely feels more realistic in certain areas. And that's where it just slightly edges out Heat 3. Heat 3, good game, better than Heat 2. I would say that Heat 2 is probably the worst out of the three that I've played. Heat 3 is better. Heat 4 is better than Heat 3. Really not much to say. They're kind of all three games are kind of a conglomeration of older ideas regarding the smaller series. I do like the fact that there are more licensed drivers in the truck series and the Xfinity series and the Cup series, but that's about it. But Heat 4, I think, is more closer to what we see on track. Not perfect, but better. So yeah, and I already gave my thoughts on Heat 3. NASCAR 99. Alright, I know this is really, really weird. This is probably a lot of nostalgia talking. NASCAR 99 was actually the first NASCAR game that I played, but I can still go back and play that game sometimes and really have a blast at it. I would say that if you're using an analog controller, it's not really the best. The inputs are really awkward sometimes, and racing at a track like Talladega, you actually do have to let off. But I still have a lot of fun with this game in particular, and I don't really know why. I just do. NASCAR 05 Chase for the Cup. So now we're in the decent category. Okay, so 05 Chase for the Cup was a good game. It did introduce the whole aspect of the 4 racing series, similar to what we saw with Dirt to Daytona. And to my knowledge, I think they actually changed the game engine, transitioning from Thunder 04 to Chase for the Cup 05. There are little things, though, that just kind of brought this game down for me. With Thunder 05, I keep saying Thunder. With Chase of the Cup 05, there was no onboard camera, so you could not race in cockpit, so that knocked it down a little bit. The production cars, they were fun, but not really necessary. This was the only game that had them, which in a sense should honestly move the game up to the pretty good category, but I don't know, there was just weird stuff in Thunder, in Chase of the Cup 05 that just really made things odd. And I just didn't really care for it much. So it's a little bit lower. It's a good game, it's just not one of my favorites. It is what it is. Heat 2 is below that. I kind of gave my reasons as to how I felt towards Heat 2. It was technically the first NASCAR Heat game that I played in this modern console generation, modern-ish console generation. It's okay, but if you guys go back and look at some of my YouTube videos and live streams of it, it gets rather frustrating. And even though I put a lot of hours into it, it's the worst out of the 3, in my opinion. That's kind of to be expected. Alright, NASCAR Thunder 2002. This is ranked decent in 3rd place in that category. Honestly, it's not a bad game. The graphics are about on par with, and I'm referring to the PS2 version, by the way. The graphics are on par with Thunder 03. They're pretty close. There's just something really weird about that game, though. It's a couple of things, really. So with Thunder 02, like, if you're driving anything but a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, the front wheels stick out by, like, what looks to be about more or less 2 inches if you were to put a body on it. And it looks really awkward. In addition, Talladega is configured really weird. If you try to take the car down to the inside line and just have it pressed up against the double yellow line, it slows you down. And they don't do that in 03, they don't do that in 04, they don't do that in any other game. But for some reason, they messed up Talladega, where if you run the innermost line just above the yellow line in the front straightaway, it slows you down significantly. Like, it makes it that is not a racing line, and that does not make any sense to me. In addition to for the PS2 version, it's really got a limited soundtrack. In fact, as I think about it, it's kind of stupid, but seems like 2000-ish on up until 2004, the soundtracks were really, really small on these games, and it stinks. So Thunder 02, it's okay. I don't really care for it, though. I prefer 03 more. Alright, NASCAR 2001. Now, I did mean to mention this, too. So, I have the PS2 versions, actually, of Thunder 02, NASCAR 01, and I also have NASCAR 2000 on the PS2. However, in how the box art is kind of laid out, it suggests more of their console generation. For some reason, we do not have NASCAR 2000 on the PS1. But with NASCAR 01, or NASCAR 2001, it's a decent game. I have more memories, though, of the PS1 version of the game, and this is the weird thing. So, played NASCAR 99, somehow skipped over NASCAR 2000. I still have no idea how we didn't get that game on the PS1 back in the day. And then we go to NASCAR 2001. I don't know what the heck happened with the PS1 versions of Thunder 02 and NASCAR 01, but the graphics of the cars got a significant downgrade in my visual opinion. They look ugly pieces of sin. And the handling issues that existed in NASCAR 99 is still kind of there. The analog system really did not feel the greatest in either Thunder 02 or Thunder 01 or NASCAR 01. I just don't get it. Now, the PS2 counterparts are actually better than their PS1 counterparts, but they're still not my favorites. Alright, on to actually the very first PS3 game directly that I got, which was NASCAR the Game Inside Line. This was also the last NASCAR game that I got from Mutechnics. And here's why I say it was decent. They didn't really fix too much in the issues that NASCAR the Game 2011 had. However, it did feel a little bit better. The paint schemes at least looked a little bit better, and I'd say that NASCAR 2011, the game, was more tarnished on its reputation just with everything that was going on. Inside Line made it slightly better, but not much. Alright. I don't really have too much to say about Inside Line. It's been a long time since I've played that game. Alright, worst of all time. I know I'm going to get some flack for some of this, so I kind of grouped NASCAR 07, 08, and 09 all as the same game in a certain sense. There was an element of each of these games that... So, I think they actually removed the total team control aspects of the ability to swap cars by 2009. But there was something about 07, 08, 09 that the games on PS2 specifically, they felt very the same with one another. I didn't really like the graphics style that they kind of went with, like made the cars have like this whoosh tail effect sort of when you're passing by stuff. It made my eyes feel bothered. 07 was okay. Then 08, the introduction of the COT was interesting and it was kind of cool to first see, but I don't know, they just all feel the same and they progressively got worse with each one. I don't know really what to say, to be honest. I don't really have any great memories of these games because they all blend together. I have more happier memories playing like 05 and 06, but that's about it. And by NASCAR 09, the field was so stuffed with fantasy drivers that it's just like, I'm not interested in this. I even remember, I specifically think I said to my mom that when I bought NASCAR 09, I got it because of essentially the roster update. And looking back on that, that was such a stupid thing to say and do in the first place. It's not even like I was super passionate about NASCAR '09. I knew what I was getting with when it came to getting the PS2 version, but I just needed to have the newest NASCAR game. I needed to finish the collection. And I think I kind of knew it at the time that EA Sports was not going to have the license for 2010, so got to go back and get it. So, onward to NASCAR 2011, the game, or NASCAR the Game 2011, as I like to call it. Oh my god. This is a dumpster of a game. So here's the interesting thing. I was actually on the Technics forums shortly after this game came out, a number of years ago. It's actually where I met Shane, and kind of started my whole process there. I met him there. I did Gran Turismo leagues with him, and then eventually got into the NR stuff, and that's what I'm doing today. You know, nearly 10 years later. Jeez, oh Pete's. But NASCAR 2011, the game. This game got shit on so much, and I completely understand why. The funny thing is I actually got NASCAR 2011, the game, for the Wii, because it was the only up-to-date console we had. We had the PS2. We didn't get a PS3 until actually 2011. And when that happened, I went ahead and sold the Wii copy and bought the PS3 copy, and I still did not like the game. The PS3 version ended up being better than the Wii version, kind of obvious there, but I barely played it because I did all of my gaming on the Wii, so I already had my fill. And I remember I used the Mario Kart Wii wheel, slapped a Wiimote into the game, into the hub, and then just started playing it that way. So there's that. I don't know really what to say. I don't like the game. I think Inside Line is slightly better. That's why it's in the decent but last decent category. And there it is. And finally, worst of all time, NASCAR Kart Racing. Now, I know that I'm kind of, picking at a game that, honestly, I think the game was made by EA, if I remember right. It was like their last game that they had with the license. And honestly, it's an okay kart racer. And but it's not a good NASCAR game. Looking back on it, did I have fun with it? Yes, I did. And my brothers and I still joke about some of the little memes that we created from that silly game. But looking back on it, would I want to pick it up now? That's the other part of it too. Looking at all of these games, looking here, what game am I going to pick up and say, I want to play this in 2020? The answer to NASCAR Kart Racing is, I do not want to play you anymore. I'm done. I got tired of you probably a year after it came out. And I think that game was released on my birthday, if I remember right. And I asked for that as a birthday present. And I played it. And here we are today. Yeah, I don't really care much for NASCAR Kart Racing. Alright, so I'm not really going to go too deep into the games I have not played. I will mention a few, though. So, let's talk about this. NASCAR Legends. I actually did have a downloaded copy of the game to try out on my computer at one point. But the game is so old and so finicky, it doesn't really like to work with my wheel much. And in addition, there are just elements that... I think NASCAR Legends was made around the time that Grand Prix Legends was made, and Grand Prix Legends is better than NASCAR Legends in my view. The other part of it too is there's a GN mod for the Grand National Division from that covers, I think, 1968, 1969, and then a separate mod that you can do the 1970 season in. Graphically, handling wise, everything else like that, the fact that that is now a mod for NR 2003, it kind of makes the old game redundant. And it's limited. The game is limited in terms of the hardware that you can use in today's age. So I technically have played it, but I never owned it, so it goes to the I have not played. Other games, real quick to talk about. I have tried NASCAR in 1998, NASCAR 98, and I do like it, reasonably speaking. Can't really say too much about it. It's about on par as NASCAR 1999 is, and NASCAR 99 is. I think 98 is actually a little bit better, but once again, I played NASCAR 98 on an emulator, so I can make it run better. I can make it feel better. Alright, next up, NASCAR Racing by Papyrus, down here with the Jeff Gordon car. I think I actually have this game. I've just played so little of it that I have no opinion of it whatsoever. I think I bought it when I was out of town. I put it into my PS2. I found out that it does not support joysticks, and I think I promptly took the game out and then put it up on my shelf. And as I look, I think I either sold it later on or I may still have it. I don't know. I will say that probably at the time, the layout of the game, especially it being a console game, is the bare bone elements that exist in NASCAR Racing by Papyrus absolutely exist in the grand ending of Papyrus with NASCAR Racing 2003 season. But yeah, NASCAR Racing on console. It's interesting. I just haven't played enough time of it or played enough of it to really give an honest, full-fledged opinion. I just don't really have anything to say about it. Next up, NASCAR Sim Racing. Now, there's an element in me that I feel like I've played the arcade version of this game because I feel like it's been at Dave and Buster's or similar places like that. But I have no clue. I don't know. I feel like I've played this game, but I don't know, to be honest. I'd love to pick it up and just see what it's like. I do actually have the PC version of NASCAR Thunder 2003 as well. But NASCAR Sim Racing, I've heard is good. I've just never played it to the top of my head. And I feel like I have, but I don't know. Hard to say. If you guys know what I'm talking about, I feel like it's a side point of NASCAR 05 Chase for the Cup, I think, because I feel like they use songs from that game. Maybe the arcade stuff is they take the base game of NASCAR Sim Racing, mod it with elements. I don't know what to say. I really, really don't. I'm trying to figure it out. But I feel like I played this. I just can't say for certain. And then finally, NASCAR 2000. Now, I mentioned earlier I do have the PS2 copy of this. But based off of the game box art, this is the PlayStation 1. Which I never owned the PS1 version of the game. NASCAR 2000 is actually pretty comparable to NASCAR 2001 on the PS2 at least. But yeah, that is what it is. Never played any of the Heat games. I just played NASCAR Dirt Daytona, which was made by the makers of NASCAR Heat. I never played. I actually did try to own NASCAR Heat Evolution. I downloaded it on my computer. I could not get any button inputs to work. I uninstalled the game and got a refund. And I think that was over the course of about maybe 7 minutes. So I only owned Heat Evolution for 7 minutes. not enough to even get into the main screen. So I have no idea how good or bad the game was. From what I've heard, it was really bad, though. So, alright, guys, that's it. Yep, as simple as it gets. Best of all time, PC specific, NASCAR Racing 2003 season. Best of all time on the console market, NASCAR Thunder 2003, in my opinion. And the worst game of them all is NASCAR Kart Racing on the Nintendo Wii. Only slightly beaten out by NASCAR 2011 the game. That's it, guys. Thank you all for watching.